You are listening to Rep Radio, giving you an inside look at the plays and the players since 2009. Today on the podcast, I sit down with Brian Sanders of Brian Sanders Junk, celebrating a body of work that has spanned 30 years and counting. We talk about the 2022-23 season, beginning with the reality TV-esque production, Luster. Stay tuned. Rep Radio is on the air. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Rep Radio. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and I am in the virtual studio once again for Fringe Arts coverage. It's that time of year, and I am here with Brian Sanders of Brian Sanders Junk. Brian, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, thank you so much.
It's great to see you. I can see you. The audience can hear you. How's the summer been?
It's been good. A little hot here in Philly in our new north. We're in North Philly, Frankfurt Digs now. Kind of fun up there. But we've been working away, on launching our 30th and doing some great new productions. So it's great.
Yeah. By the way, congratulations on 30 years. 30 years of Brian Sanders Junk.
Crazy.
How is
right?
it 30 years? You don't look a day over 27.
Oh, shush. It's all filters, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's tremendous. It's crazy to find myself here. I love it. It's great.
Yeah. When you started 30 years ago, did you have any idea of what kind of longevity you would have? Did you have a plan?
Oh my
Or were
God,
you just going?
I had no plan, and I still don't have a plan. I have, at least now I have a board of directors that tells me you need a plan, and and I still struggle with trying to plan. I guess it's part of being an artist,
I was just about to say, I think that's the artist way.
Yeah. If you plan too much, it doesn't feel like it comes from somewhere. I hate to use the word organic, but and I'm a total impulse artist too. I'll wait. I'll wait until the impulse comes to and follow that, and rather than. I'll tell you, because the Fringe is coming up, I'll tell you always a fun story every year. For the Fringe, they, as part of being in the festival, you sort of submit, I don't know how many words it is, but it's a short statement about what your show is about. And I have never been right once because I write about what I think it's about, but then by the time I get there, it's so I'm not a very good planner in that respect. One year, someone asked me where the tractor was because I was pretty sure I was going to have a tractor in the show, but there wasn't one when I got there. So, sorry.
Yes.
That's my story about planning. So
no, I definitely understand that. Whenever I have to sit and like the same thing with if I'm putting together a bio or if I'm writing any kind of description, I'm just like, if I was talking to someone, I would have so much to say, but I'm trying to put it on paper so it can go out somewhere so people can make decisions. And you get in your head about it. You're like, this needs to be cleaner than I would say it, to a person.
Yeah, it's much the same scenario. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Well, technically, before the summer started, you had an event in June, and
Yes.
tell us about that real quick.
I know. Well, it was June 17th, so I think it was 3 days before the summer started. But it was a sort of our kickoff party for our 30th anniversary season, and so we have 3 productions this year. We have the one coming up in the Fringe called Luster. We have our annual Snowball event, and then we have a really unique collaboration with the Philadelphia Orchestra in March. And so we gave sneak peeks of each of those events and little teasers into what was coming. plus some other fun stuff for the party. That was um, for instance, we had a virtual reality project that we collaborated with Drexel University on through the William Penn Foundation, and we were able to put that on exhibit at Gayties and a couple of other fun projects we had been working on.
Yeah. um, I forget where I was at the time. I had a lot of balls in the air, but uh, sounds like it was a fun event. Bo Tees, Bo Tees. Where did
uh,
the name come from?
let's see. Oh, it's funny. I don't know why I was toying with the idea of uh, beautiful people, and I was thinking Bo Peeps, and
Hmm.
and then I don't know. I think a couple of people didn't like it or something, and so I ended up we're doing. It's a I wanted it to have a sort of sexy striptease feel to it,
Hmm.
as it was but it's a teaser of sorts of things that are coming up, and so I kept the beautiful people still making the tease dance. So
Yeah. Looking back on 30 years of Brian Sanders junk, um, can you uh, can you think of a time where it felt like you started to find a rhythm, or are you still are you still in that? I mean, you just talked about um, you know letting inspiration kind of
right,
hit you.
right,
But
maybe.
can you think of when it started to feel like there was more of a flow in
Hmm.
place? Like what year did you catch a stride?
Wow, I gotta say, I still feel like this is the bumpiest, most unsure road that I've ever traveled. Um, uh, every year, all the time, and I just keep saying, surely this must get easier. However, I think that I get a little bit better at both one driving the road, navigating it, and
Mm,
two apologizing every time I lose it again afterwards, because it's such a stressful, intense experience for me still. Over and over again, and I work with amazing people, who put up with a crazy, stressed out artist all the time, and um, and I've worked with people before. Well, for Moses Pendleton from the artistic director of Moments, I worked with him for many years, and when I started with him, he was in his 50s and had been doing it since the 80s, and I was like, this guy's crazy. I'm surely it must. I don't know what's he's been doing it long enough that he should not be so stressed out. But many years later, I'm like completely understood him because it doesn't get less stressful. It gets more stressful each time. Somehow you're trying to outdo yourself, or you're trying to reinvent yourself in a new way, or the last thing I want to do, I guess, as an artist is be comfortable, but that comes at a cost. So
mhm.
there I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Um,
Mhm.
and it is tricky, because once there's a plan, does it feel organic? Does it feel like
Mhm.
it's coming from a good place? And um, but were there let's see, were there I, I mean, I guess they're all your darlings, so to speak,
Mm.
over the years. Were there any
Sure.
performances or productions that you know, that in at a glance you can look back and say, "Oh, that one was really amazing experience."
Mm. Yeah, for sure. I throw stuff, out there on a regular basis, and so thinking that everything is amazing is is a little bit grand for me. I say 1 in 10 if I'm lucky, and so there have definitely been ones that have been like, wow, that really worked. Now, would I have predicted that those would have been the ones that really worked? No, but you know. I guess it's timing and uh, there's some sort of universal synchronicity or something when stuff comes out and it's just right and it's so easy and it just makes sense. And other times where it's like just pushing that ball up the hill, doesn't want to go. So and I never know what the secret is to that. It's just I think that's part of the process is just keep doing it, and then every once in a while I squeeze one out that rings true with myself and others. So.
Yeah. So we're not out of the weeds of this
Uh,
pandemic quite yet.
weeds
Um,
is a polite word.
yeah, we're still kind of in it in some way, but we are kind of inching back to a life that we sort of recognized before,
Hmm.
while trying to look optimistically forward.
Hmm.
Um, does it or did it hinder any of the ideas that you had coming up to this point? Like, did you have to rethink anything that you really wanted to do? Like, did you have a more grand idea that was like, maybe I'll kick that down the road for a couple more years and see where
Well, I
we are?
mean, sure. I mean, literally, like on February of 2020, I was sitting at the Free Public Library at the end of a 3-year project that I talked about, this virtual reality and project that I worked on for a long time and hard. And sort of the culmination of this entire project was, releasing this virtual reality asset into, a bunch of the branches of the Free Public Library. And, it never happened because it has yet to have made sense in a capacity where, oh, let's, publicly, put VR helmets on our heads. It just never happened. So, we had to, re-navigate and, you know, uh, that entire experience. So yes, I definitely had to rethink things and figure things out in different ways. Um, like I said, I'm an impulse guy, and so much of my impulse was reactionary, just from the stress of the entire situation for me.
Hmm.
And um, I did. I think it cut both ways, but I was both incredibly productive, over the last 2 years, because my default is if I don't know what to do and I'm distressed, um, I go be creative, and I went into the studio first by myself, and then with one other person across the room, and then slowly, but I still kept working no matter what, and so. Um, it really helped me, but I don't know if I'll look back at that work and be like, "Oh, that was really great," or because it was all stress work, but it was still
Yeah.
navigating the process. And a couple of things that were, I was so glad to be a part of was um, both sort of keeping myself sane, but also giving other performers a chance to work and be in a studio and pay them, and really it didn't end up being so much about the work itself anymore, but it was much more just about um, needing and wanting to have that experience. And just the first couple of performances that we had that were sort of these mixes of online and in person and virtual, and it was just 8 people in an audience, but it didn't matter. It was just the importance of doing it and having it happen. So certainly life is, I think we're trudging forward, but it's impossible not to be affected by it, I think. And it
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
behoove us if we pretended we weren't. Yeah.
It has it has been my experience. Like, I know that we are still we're still uncertain as to whether people are feeling comfortable enough to come out, even though we're taking every precaution. But at the same time, I'm still seeing a lot of people out. and I'm still seeing like I feel like maybe it's a Philadelphia thing. I don't know because I feel like we have a lot of um, artistic or creative diehards here who
Mhm.
will, like the ones who will come out in heavy rain, who are not
Mhm.
afraid of, a storm, who won't cancel when there's a storm. And, so you can kind of call this a storm that hadn't quite ended. Um, but it was kind of good to see that we still had people out there and supporting, and especially for all of the adjustments, which really didn't feel like adjustments. They're just kind of like, hey, this is going to happen outside, so
Mhm.
we're going to be outside.
This is the the
We're
new
like, oh,
way. Yeah,
yeah,
very
yeah.
much.
It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, true.
oh, but there's a
Listen,
bar. Okay, great.
right? Yeah, for sure. Um, you know, years ago, I don't know where I got the bright idea. It's one more of Brian's crazy ideas, but I was like, let's have a fundraiser in January. At the end of January, and call it Snowball. And this is our annual fundraiser every year now.
Hmm.
And every year there's this nervousness that it's going to snow, and it's never stopped us. And people have come even when it has snowed. So
Mm.
yeah, it's like one of those you know Philly you know um, audiences. We're lucky to be a part of it. Is that they cherish these experiences, and so we're glad to be making them.
Yeah. I always think that's great, and I do think many of our organizations have at least one sort of major event that is the event to look forward to, and it's no matter what the situation is, it's hard to not make it happen, not try to make it happen in some way,
Mhm.
and but those are the things that I guess they kind of give us hope.
Mhm.
To know that,
Yeah.
hey, if there's gonna be a snowball, then I think things are still
I,
okay.
I, wow, wow, that's very, that's a gracious way to refer to Snowball as such an epic event, right?
Yeah, well,
Love it.
I mean,
I love it.
I enjoy seeing, like, announcements for events and then seeing, like, "Sold out," or seeing, like,
No,
"Hurry
yeah,
up, the tickets are
yeah,
going fast," and it's like, well, they
yeah,
are moving fast, and that's great, and,
yeah, yeah.
and also, dance and, it's so it crosses so many lines, or it's not a very specific audience. Like, the audience
Mhm.
comes from all over the place,
Mhm.
and
It's got fluid
so
borders.
yeah, yeah, so it allows for some new people to get in, some tried and trues to get in, and makes it still have an enjoyable experience. Yeah. So this this is the 30th season. 30th season. It's just so hard to wrap my head around. I'm trying to think of, like, yeah.
I'm
So
old. I'm old. What do you want? Well, I mean, part of it was I was crazy enough to found the company while I was still a senior in college, and
mhm,
and so that's why I have so long in my company teeth. Um, I hadn't even had my graduation yet, and we did our first show at the Trocadero in March 1992. So that was when our first show was 30 years ago. Three,
yeah.
30 years and 3 months ago.
And you outlived the truck.
I know, right? You gotta be old to be out. I know that's how a little heartbreaking that one, because that place
I
had
know,
such a
it
beautiful
was
home.
sad.
Really.
I remember lines out front, for some of the last events
Hmm.
at the Trocadero, and,
Hmm.
hearing that, "Any day it's going," and it's like,
Oh my
"Oh,"
God.
but at the
Well,
same
listen,
time
I know
go ahead.
the night we did our show. Oh, we did several after that. I'm pretty sure it was that one or another one, but it did rain that night, and it would rain inside the theater on the power and lighting
Oh,
system,
wow.
and
Oh,
so
no.
So the fact that it lasted as long as it did, and that was 30 years ago, and
Yeah,
so yeah, it's that we kept it alive as long as we could, and it was the diehard fans that did keep it alive. I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, yeah. So the fringe offering you have coming up, is called Luster, and it's at the Concourse Dance Bar, which I've been to for a couple of events. And it's
Mhm.
I interesting space. I like that space. It's actually so much space. So
Mhm.
and you don't have to have a real concern about can you pack them in, really.
Well,
Um,
no, we would. As a matter of fact, we have it's too much room for us, so we're only using a portion of it for the show.
yeah.
But it's also well broken up,
Mhm.
and so there isn't actually um, one area that you know fits all of us. So we're going to kind of be moving around, and shifting, and moving people about.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us about Luster.
Hmm. When I hear the name, I crack up because it means so many things. Well, I wanted something that kind of both reflected our 30th anniversary, and which is the pearl is the 30th anniversary gem, um, and so um, but I just thought about that name and how the I guess the noun luster, one who lusts, um, is was just such a relevant name to what I was working on, and this idea of how what we do, our creativity and our artistry is has turned into you know um, likes and clicks, and um, uh, how we as creative consumers have kind of fed into the um, social media and reality TV world of just wanting more and more kind of extravagant. I don't know what, and that's part of this. What are we lusting for?
Mm,
With all of this, is it success? Is it fame? Is it our minute on as an influencer? Is it our minute on television? What is it? And so just kind of looking at that, and then also the role of artists inside of that creativity, um, and how we navigate that line between um, wanting to produce both for ourselves and for others, and how do we speak to them, and are the others likes now? Are the others hits on TikTok or whatever it is? I don't know. So I'm just trying to navigate that as an artist and thinking about it creatively. But it's also very relevant for Junk because we had a wonderful experience, which was both, I call it, amazing and a nightmare all at the same time.
mm,
We had a reality TV show experience, and it was not something I thought of even to do. It wasn't in my wheelhouse, and we kind of got recruited offline. They saw our work and said, "Hey, you guys want to come do this show?" And eventually, I was talked into it, and it's kind of it's a um, what's the word? It's sort of a alluring and charming experience, and it seems very flattering, and seems like there's lots of opportunity involved, but there's also a lot of personal sort of integral sacrifice that goes along with it, and the idea of creating something that's fit for the lowest common denominator, and
mm,
they use that term as producers all the time in television, in at least the show that I have experience with, and making something fit inside of that, and still feel secure as an artist and doing what I was doing. It was an incredibly challenging experience for me. At the same time, I was working with amazing people, other people on the show that I was working with, lighting designers, costume designers, the producers of the shows themselves. Seeing the creators of reality TV at work is a mind blowing experience, and watching them do their artistry is amazing. There's nothing real about it, but it has this just sort of excellence to it, and they're pretty darn good at what they do. And so being and going through that whole process really gave me this, kind of skewered lens. I'm going to go with that. It felt like a barbecue skewer went right through my eye, and and I now see this, sort of feeding frenzy of what will the what will the creative people give us next? What will they give us next? What will they give us next? Kind of feeling, um, and the bits are getting shorter and shorter and more, more bold, and so the show is really about, the TV show, reality show that's being created, as part of this show, is, how close to the line can we get without going over it. And so that's, the name of the show is called Tragic, and it's really about, pushing these, competitors, uh, as far as they will go creatively, without going over the line, and making sure that everyone, sponsorship's happy and everyone's happy. So that's where Lester is. That's where it came from.
Yeah. Uh, the concept of reality shows, it's always so interesting because they want they want the participants to be as real as possible, but then the story is skewed to be more salacious and outrageous,
Hmm.
so that we watch because we're getting sort of snippets of it.
Hmm.
They might be recording in that space, um, for hours on end where nothing is happening, and then they have to edit it to create drama,
Hmm.
basically, in order for us to
Hmm.
keep watching.
Yeah.
Tragic is a fitting name.
Yeah, yeah, for real.
What do you think is the draw for us, for reality shows and competitions in general? What do you think, helps us gravitate to such programming?
That's kind of what I'm working on in the show and looking at, and it, uh, and I don't know if ultimately I'll be able to answer it. Um, I know there. I'm looking at it more from the, for a bit, from the performer side, where there is a sense of something about when the camera turns on, or your in, your live feed on Instagram or whatever it is, something clicks in our brain and we become a performer, even if we don't want to. You
Mm,
know what I mean? There's just something that kind of drives us forward, and unfortunately, the industry, has realized that, oh, that's almost like free energy. You put anyone in front of a camera and they'll do whatever they want, whatever you want, right? And so, that sense of being able to get people to perform for free in a way, and make fools of themselves, or be dramatic or not be dramatic, or do whatever they want. There's sort of that that the lust, of the people, behind the lens, that comes out, and we feed off of it. And so, I'm not sure why we need so much, manufactured drama in our lives now. Um, the Somehow, lots of information and fast, I think, has kind of become our go-to. And so, while the power of, transferring lots of information to people, at a fast rate, is an amazing thing in lots of, great ways. However, there are certain things, that get so distilled that it's more enjoyable for us to get the synopsis than it is to
mhm,
really sit down and, find a, um, you know, find a longer, deeper, more patient version of something. So, when I did, the reality TV show we were competing on, we had to do, every week we had to create a 90-second piece. So, I mean, I've never made that short of anything in my life. And one of my sort of kind of go tos with if something wants to be emotional or in my beautiful in my mind or whatever it is. It's the power of a fade out, right? But that's 30 seconds right there. You can't do fade outs on television, right? And so
Yeah.
and there was this strange sort of transcription of what it is that I do, where I love developing an idea over time, and giving people the sort of the idea of eating a meal slowly. The experience as a whole is really um, something I kind of relish in creating, and all of that had to be packed inside of this 90 seconds. And so the idea of distilling everything you do into some sort of, and even that 90 seconds is edited in such a way that we know when to respond and how to respond to it and what looks good because of what the judges are. They're spliced in when their reactions are spliced in. So when they're
Mhm.
looking impressed, we feel impressed with what we just saw. And when we hear the crowd cheer, we know, oh, that must have been good. And so we're getting this much more consumable, palated, very highly edited, digestive version of it fast. I mean, to see a Brian Sanders junk show takes probably 45 minutes of at least sitting and digesting the work, would say nothing about getting there and back, and having a leisurely dinner afterwards. But either way, uh, you know when you click on one of those shows, you get quick, fast, soothing moments of entertainment and drama, um, and you can turn it off and walk away. I guess so. That's what it is. I don't know. I'm still answering the question in this piece.
Yeah. I it's like it we used to say, the kind of the Cliff's Notes version of life, but I
Hmm.
don't think they're called Cliff's Notes anymore. I think they're called Spark Notes or something.
Yeah, they have right. They have two versions now. That's.
Yeah, it is crazy because like I do prefer like a deep dive. I do prefer,
Mhm,
to kind of park and really let something expand in front of me. I don't want it
mhm,
simplified so I can just say I did it, but there is this sort of mindset, and I think that that's what all of this is. Everything is so fast paced, just so you can say, "Oh yeah, I saw it. I saw it.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
all right." Like usually the person who is not impressed by it
Mm,
isn't someone who would be able to do any of what they just saw at all. You were like, "There was
mhm,
a couple of flips in it. I guess it was okay."
mhm,
But we have such high expectations and, such a short attention span,
mhm.
which is crazy, which I
Yeah.
think that
Okay, but why was I so able to sit and cherish every moment of Dune? I'm such a
Mhm.
Dune freak, and I just I just had goosebumps through the whole thing, and it was so kind of slow and beautifully poetic, and
Yeah.
it was just magnificent, right?
Well,
And
it's,
long.
as artists, I guess we all classify as nerds in some way, and even though
True.
that's not even a bad word anymore, like, we used to say that as, like, you know, it was a put down, but it's really
Hmm.
not. Like, we like to nerd out, or we like to geek out about things, and really, really unpack, things. Like, there are so many films that are, like, over 3 hours long, and it doesn't cross our minds that, "You know what? I'm gonna be here for this moment,"
Hmm.
not a problem. But sometimes, you can plan to go to a musical and you're like, "Ugh, I just it's why is it starting at 8 and it's 3 hours and 15 minutes? Oh." Sometimes we just can't,
Yeah.
but if I think when we want to, especially when it comes to, the different forms of media, we don't mind parking in front of it, to really consume it. you know, we do it with television now. We do it with TV shows, and now they release multiple episodes at a time because they know some people will sit and watch, three 1 hour episodes in one sitting. Um, but you do have the convenience of maybe just watching one today and pick up on the other one tomorrow, and then you just have a week of doing this. Um, so it's like this back and forth, but I think it's because we are also convinced that we are doing so much important stuff that
Yeah,
that
right.
we need, like, we need bite size
Uh-huh.
bits of it, or I just need enough of this to go to like, we don't even go to a water cooler anymore, to talk about
Uh-huh.
what we saw the night before. And I'm not even seeing a lot of engagement online about like a TV show,
Mm,
like we used to, or like an award show, for example, where we're just sort of live commenting on
mhm,
like the winners and performances and whatnot. So it will be interesting to see, once we get on the other side of this continuing intermission. Well, it's not really an intermission anymore, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, we still see people out, but we're proceeding with caution. So it's like
Mhm.
I'll have to find some creative way to infuse like the amber light of process right now. Like we're
Mhm.
proceeding with caution now.
Mm.
It's not full. It's not all green. You know, go
Right.
ahead. But we are sort of
Truly,
treading
we
light.
have, we have specially dedicated seating at our show,
Mm.
for, socially distanced seating, or people are kind of, you know,
Y-
tucked away safely enough that if they need to feel distant,
mhm. Yeah.
because, I mean, certainly, you've been to this venue before too, and there's plenty of environments where, if it's not it's the natural inclination of whatever the larger crowd is, sometimes they swarm. That's what they do.
Mhm. Yeah.
these these gregarious humans.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting thing too, because I guess I, d- I don't know if we're necessarily classifying it as, it sort of falls under accessibility,
Mm.
kind of. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this is like a new sort of accessibility that we
Mm.
are, making sure that our patrons have as an option,
Mm.
so that everyone can feel comfortable.
Yeah, we are navigating that for sure.
Yeah. Um, okay, so before we get to the other production in your season. Oh, no, actually we can
I
go
feel
there.
like we're talking about everything, but okay. Right.
We are
Oh, we
talking
haven't
about
talked about.
everything.
I know, right?
What haven't we talked about?
Well, I mean, this year, in our 30th, we're doing a great collaboration with the Philadelphia Orchestra,
Yes.
and that is in March, as well as we talked a little bit about Snowball, which will
Mhm.
be coming up in, I think it's January 21st, and that's a one night sort of, no holds barred. I don't want to say it's a costume event, but it has turned into that over the years. There's so many people. Often the theme is all white, and it's usually all white with another creative twist every year.
Mm.
And this year is Back on Ice, and so we're doing Pearl and Ice as the creative twist,
Mm.
because it is Pearl, our 30th year, and we are back on ice because we moved during COVID to the summer, an outdoor summer um, fun snowball. It was Snowball melted, and that lasted 2 years, and then we're back on ice. So we're happy to be frozen again, and Snowball will be rock hard.
Yeah.
So with that, we moved to the orchestra, and the orchestra's production was something we collaborated on again over during COVID as it was basically almost a dance film we created with them, and it's a ballet. Okay, so I don't know. I always get these like rendition of a rendition of a rendition. The last project I did with the orchestra was Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliet. Well, so okay, that is um, a musician's interpretation of a ballet of a story of of Romeo and Juliet. So by the time it got to the ballet version, it's like who knows what the actual story is. So it's much the same in this scenario because this is a Russian composer whose name I'm going to botch, I'm sure, but it's Rodin Shadrin, and
Mm.
it's his sort of inspiration, and it is created as a ballet dance suite after Bizet's Carmen. So it's a orchestral dance suite for strings and percussion, and you know um, it's fashioned after an opera. So while all the are cherished familiar melodies and sort of themes of Carmen are in there, it's a completely different version of the music. So that's very cool. Number one. Number two is the orchestra. I've wanted to give a sort of updated version of Carmen, and I thought, um, why not have pole dancer Carmen? So I talked the orchestra proudly into a 30-foot pole for pole dancing in the middle of the orchestra, which we're going to hopefully be able to achieve with them. So I can't wait for this production. I'm very excited about
Ooh. I know you always have to find a way to up the ante. You gotta
it.
elevate.
I do a little bit. Maybe I am this reality TV show, right? Going to the edge and seeing how far I can go. I say that all of my shows are about me. There's nothing I can't not come from home, as it were. As soon as I do
Yeah.
something that's not coming from home, then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, that all sounds very exciting, as it does every year. So we'll definitely look out for that. Oh, so that one is called A Modern Carmen Fantasy,
Exactly.
and that one's in March. So yeah, and we'll have links to the website so you can go through all that. But also, being that this is your 30th, um, as Brian Sanders Young, there is a fundraising initiative
Hmm.
in place. You want to talk about it?
Sure. As I mean, I'm just beating this damn pearl to death. It was 30 years, and so we're trying to raise $30,000, and this is a really ambitious amount for us. We're a small time Philadelphia dance company, and but we're going for it, and uh, people can contribute in a lot of different ways, and most of those you can find out about online at our website www.briansandersjunk.com, and every little bit helps us on our road to getting closer to our goal of $30,000 for 30 years.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's doable. It's
All right.
$1,000 each year for
Right.
each year. Okay, so 30 people write
Oh, wow. Okay. We'll
$1,000
take it.
check.
Right. And well, $1,000 get you a lot of the season. Still, it gets you into each of the events as a special feature package. You get all the VIP treatment, as well
Mhm,
as we're creating a 30th anniversary souvenir booklet, which is over the years. We've had so many amazing photographers capture our work. And so we're trying to celebrate those people and the people in those photographs over the years in a very beautiful colored souvenir booklet that'll be produced.
mhm. I love that your events have, sort of um, have a VIP upgrade.
Well,
You know?
I know. I just but I've always at the same time we got our start at at the Fringe. I feel like, well, I mean, I can't even think. I think my tickets at the Trocadero, 30 years ago were $10.
Mm,
And so, you know, we are, it's an effort for people to be able to support us. You know what I
mhm,
mean, and really, and get a little bit extra show. This coming, for the Fringe Festival, we have our Lux ticketing package, which gets them an extra 25 minutes of backstage content. And a
mm,
lot of that is kind of interesting in the reality TV show world. We're looking at how, um, our, particular brand, dance. I mean, there could be all kinds of reality TV, but, how dance has sort of transformed from real life production to reality TV, and how the lens can change dance. So it's going to be fun, intimate, and interesting.
yeah. So all of that, it always sounds so exciting. um, so yeah, so that's Luster and your 30th anniversary season and $30,000 fundraising initiative. There's a lot going on, and Snowball is back on ice and back with the Philadelphia Orchestra. Yeah, it sounds, it feels like things are. I don't. It's hard to say like getting back to normal. It's not getting back to
Now,
normal, but it's more of a. It's
moving
more
forward.
moving forward and
Yeah.
growing in this
Mhm.
Pearl year. Yeah,
Yeah.
so all of this is very exciting, and yeah, of
Mhm.
course, everyone listening will have links to this. But the first thing you'll be able to do, which when you're listening to this, you'll have probably a week or so um, before Luster begins to get tickets and be a part of this experience. Because anyone who's listening who has been to a Brian Sanders Junk presentation knows what you're getting into. These are It's an experience, and I was so glad to be a part of it last season as well. Oh, that was so much fun. It's so much fun. Really enjoy. I love how immersive everything is too. We just
Mhm.
you don't know what you're getting into, but if you were sitting at home and you had broken down completely, uh, I could sense some people, like, a lot of people are not fans of, like, audience participation. They're like, "I
Uh-huh.
didn't know I was gonna have to be involved in this," but then you
Right.
get there and you're just sorta in it. You're sorta in it, and you're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
wow, this is really cool. I like this."
Mhm.
And then go tell all your friends, if they can get tickets, because it'll no doubt be sold out.
Well, the only
Um,
audience participation in this one is you get to vote, which is what
mm,
people love to do. So
yeah.
give their feedback.
Yeah. Well, this will be an interesting experience. So I'm looking forward to it. I will be there on the 8th.
Wonderful.
I'm
Oh,
excited.
great, great.
I got it
All
all
right, we'll see you
planned.
opening night.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah. So okay, so we talked about Luster, Snowball's coming back. We got a modern Carmen fantasy and a $30,000 fundraising initiative, all for your Pearl year, Brian Sanders Junk. I think we touched on everything. I think this is enough for the listeners to go on and figure out how you want to be a part of this season. So Brian, thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I always enjoy our chats.
Thank you.
It's always great to understand, to learn a little bit more about your process and what to expect coming forward. And I'm glad that you and your team are still alive and kicking and
Woo-hoo.
and bringing us the junk. So
All right.
we
Wonderful.
appreciate
Glad to
that.
be here. Sure.
Yeah. So Brian Sanders Junk, 30 years. and 30 more coming. So you can find out more about Brian Sanders Junk by going to briansandersjunk.com for all the productions coming up this season and for how to support this fundraising initiative. Brian, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate
Sure.
it.
Thank you for having me.
Rep Radio is an Emory production. You can follow us on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at rep_radio and Facebook at Rep Radio. If you would like to be a guest on our show, visit our website at em3ry.com. Ride with us. Emory is on the move.